Hello everyone and welcome back to ReplayWorks and welcome back to another round of the Blue-Green One-Year War High Maneuver deck. So this is actually the first revision for the deck after a week of testing, or rather a few days of testing rather. I did this, I put up a tournament report on the first tournament that I played the old build at Silk Road Gaming on Friday, and then in between that, Saturday into Sunday, I decided to change it up the build because of some flaws that I saw in the deck when I was running the deck from that tournament. So what you see is the revision that I ran on Sunday at Card Quest in Corona, New York, and this one I felt a lot better. So there's quite a couple changes here. Let's talk about the stuff that stayed the same. Zaku's, Sharp packages, the Gelgoog, the G-Fighter actually got cut down by 1. Show Resolve stayed the same. Amro, I believe, was also at 3 before. So those all stayed the same. Now, a lot of the deck has changed as well. Most notably, let's talk about the pilots, or the elephant in the room rather. I decided to play the Wing Gundam starter, Wing Gundam, along with Hero Yui, so in a 3-to-2 ratio. This was because after I realized I couldn't deal with big threats as fast, because green only has so many good level 6, level 5s that can come in and do stuff, right? If I wanted to play something that's 4 cost, it's going to be either, I don't know, like Shenlong Gundam, Death Scythe with Duo. But in this case, I think the card that I felt that had the best potential was to use Wing Gundam with Hero to turn it into a 7/7. Now, the combination of these two, it actually did help a lot. It felt a lot better than playing Big Zam, because that was like the first card I cut. There was no point in me playing that when the games didn't even last that long for me to even get 10, or if they had to feel the blockers. Most times against a deck that's blocker heavy, Big Zam was kind of a dead card, to be honest. Now, this does reduce my overall Xeon count for Char Zaku 2 by a little bit, but that was a risk I was willing to take because I wanted that extra power along with the breach, along with the ability to attack into blockers that are active. I think that was probably one of the stronger reasons for me to play it. Personally, if I wanted to switch it around, I can swap it out for Shenlong and 2 Wu Feis instead. Since Shenlong Gundam comes out a turn earlier, it's going to pop Lifrith, it's going to pop Zawart. So, yeah, I mean, I want to test Wing Gundam first just because I had that lying around. But the Shenlong is also worth it. I'll probably use that in Revision 2, just to see how that can play. So, out of the way, the bases, right? The bases changed a lot as well. I got rid of the white base. I got rid of Zanzibar. I put in the Famel. This is because I wanted to get tokens out pretty fast. I noticed that there was a lull on whenever I'm at level 3, where my opponent, they'll probably have Zawart on the field they played earlier. So if I had Famel over Zanzibar, I can actually just play Famel, get the card advantage from the shield to the hand, and then deploy a free token. Now, that puts it on them because their next turn they're going to play Lifrith. If they're playing white, they're going to be playing Lifrith. If they're not, then yeah, I'll take the trade either way. But they'll either try to play Lifrith, and then they have the Zawart that could swing into the token and go for an even trade. If they don't, that's fine with me, because most times the turn after that, I'm able to start to put more pressure on them, even though they have 2 blockers, right? So the token kind of comes into play when I see that there's like a weird lull in the game state, if they don't have a Lifrith, if we do like a huge trade-off from both fields and the field's empty, then it comes in, tokens there, and then it's kind of like a free 3-1 at that point. So I decided to just put that in. It worked out pretty well because, if I went, let's say I went second, right? This is my turn 2, right? So I would try to get Zaku 2 on the first turn, next turn into the Famel, which means that they now have to deal with both these 2 swinging at life. And it didn't cost me anything, because I think what I did was the Zanzibar was that I held back a lot for it, because I really wanted to use Zanzibar with the Char's Gelgoog combo. But what happened was that by doing that, I'm not getting cards onto the field fast enough. I am holding back cards. With the Zanzibar, I can, they both give me a card to hand, but I get the token, which can help accelerate the game plan or trade off a card on their field with a token that I just generated just by playing this on my turn. So that's one thing that I felt was necessary, and I talked to a friend of mine, like he put it in his Xeon build. He just said it plain and simple. I just want to get the token early, and I was like, yeah, that makes sense. All right, cool. So the other base that replaced white base is also the Cornecia base. Now, I saw this one from one of Eggman's lists in the red-blue deck, and I thought that's amazing because if you're going first, this card is great on curve because it costs 3, so it's your entire turn, but who cares? You get a 4/2, which can trade with Lifrit clean, or if again, any blocker that they play, it's going to have 4 defense, so that puts a huge amount of pressure, and it comes into play active, so they can't attack it unless they do some shenanigans. Again, not a big deal, it's fine, because again, you're 4/2, you're going to be training with anything that swings at it. So I thought that was great, so I decided to say, hey, you know what, I'm going to play that. And then, speaking of going first, I also decided to play the Goof, that's level 2, that costs 2, that's a 3/2. Now, this was, I played against the owner of Silk Road Gaming, and he put the white version in one of his deck, and he was like, this is my Zwart counter, and I was like, this is pretty good, because again, if I go first, my second turn, Zaku 2 is fine. I'll talk about him later, but putting on a 3/2 on that second turn to essentially match Zwart, it does help a lot. Where it can, on its own, it can base break. If for some reason they miss that Zwart turn, then I get a 3/2 on the field for a couple more turns. It just runs in line with the rest of the stat lines from here. So again, you can pair it with any of the pilots to make it 5. And also, more importantly, it's still cheap, right? Because it's 2, it comes down at any other point in the game. It's essentially, I can treat it just as a 3/2, which is a great stat line for me to have. So I took out the Rick Doms for that one. I felt really good when I saw it. Whenever I went first, because that meant I had a very strong start, especially when I can just start swinging with the Goof, and if they want to get rid of it, they're going to give up something on their own. Even if it's a 2/2 vanilla, I'll take that, because that's better than what the Zaku 2 can do, right? Okay, so from here, another thing that was changed was the Gundam change. I did swap out the LR Gundam for the ST Gundam. So the Star Deck Gundam ended up working out very well, because what I needed was to get to a 6 threshold, right? And from previously, the deck was designed around hitting 5. And that's okay, because like 5 clears out bases, everything becomes a 5, only certain things become a 6, right? The Gelgoogs become 6s. But with Gundam from the Star Deck, he gives, when I pair him, doesn't matter with who, it could be with Char or Amuro, in the rare cases Hero, but whenever I link him up and pair him out, he gives everyone +1 attack, which means that anyone that was already paired, for example, the most common play that I do is turn 3, if I didn't get the base, I can just go ahead and play the Zakus along with Char and start swinging at face from there. And if I'm playing against a deck that plays an 06 base, putting on the Gundam on turn 4, being able to pair him or link him with Amuro is even better. Then I can just destroy the base of one hit next turn. So it adds that extra 1 matters to me, because that's a way for me to get certain thresholds. And even if I don't have a Char equipped to the Char's Gelgoog or something, these guys are still going to swing for 3, and then they're going to swing for 4 with the Gundam. So I think reaching 4 as well gives me a way to trade with Lifrit, essentially. On my turn, so I'm the aggressor, I'm going to try to figure out if they're going to try to block with it, or if they're just going to take the hit, right? I don't care either way. I'll prefer if they take the hit, because that's one less shield for me to go through, and I can deal with all the blockers later or ignore them throughout the game. So again, this one felt really good. I also found that because I played Show Resolve, because I played the bases now, I didn't need that much hand advantage as the LR Gundam that I originally thought. So I just had the extra space to put 3 of these in, and that came into play quite a lot, especially with the repair ability, being able to swing into a tap Lifrit or something. If I do the link with Amuro, I can just exhaust Lifrit, swing into it, recover the 2 from there. So it's like a free kill. So that worked out well. Next, the 3/4 Vanilla Gundam, right? This one is also a new change. to the deck. I did, before there was 4 Rick Doms, I took out 2 to put in 2 of the Goose and 2 of the Gundams. The Gundams helped me out just because the 3/4 stat line, and the fact that it costs 2, right? If I'm going first, this allows me to play two cost units on turn 4, which is my general MO. As soon as I have access to four resources, I'll just slam down any 2 that I have, except for the Char Zaku 2 rare, just because I want to pair him with Char so I can not lose him for no reason. But having, what's this, 10, 12 targets that can come down to at the same turn is amazing, right? So that gives a lot of pressure on them, and the 3/4 stat line is very big in the sense that I can live through Zawart. 4 HP is quite a lot compared to my other 2 drops as well, so it kind of adds a little bit of a buffer where if I wanted to, I can use them to start poking at other units on the field just to clean it up a little bit. And also, this gives another target for G-Fighter, since before I ran 3 G-Fighters, so now I only play 2, because this is like a kind of an end game card. I'm not going to slam this down as freely as I slam down the Gundam, so I want to make sure I see them at least 1 per game and towards the end game, and try to go from there. But realistically, some of the games I played, even after that I didn't record and even during testing, I didn't really need him because the Char's package carried the work along with the Wing Gundam from there. They all kind of help push through damage very early and very fast. Alright, so let me talk about Zaku 2, right? So Zaku 2, originally in the Stardeck battles, originally in the first build of deck, it's very good. If you go second, you put him down, you feel great because you're going to swing for base hit. I found it to be a little bit underwhelming because what would happen is that they would put down Zawart. I would put down Zaku 2 first, they would put down Zawart. Then I'm left with a choice with, do I just try to go for the base break, which, if they guard, that's great because I can do an even trade. And if they don't guard, they lose the EX base, and then I'm stuck with a 1/2. And like in most times, I kind of don't want to swing that early because I know that Zawart's just going to live at 1. So it kind of puts me in a weird position where, like, yeah, it's great if they don't have a blocker, right? But if I assume that they're always going to have a blocker, they're always going to have Zawart on turn 2, then it puts me in that position where I'm going to lose aggro on my second turn, right? Instead of getting that immediately. And I don't think it's a very interesting scenario, especially if I go first. If I go first, I play the Zaku 2 when it could have been a goof, right? And me going first is actually really good with the deck because then I get access to level 4 earlier, so I get to put down 2 guys. Most players won't spend their EX resource on turn 4 if they're going second, so that means they're going to put down 1 unit. I'll start putting down 2 units earlier than them. So the Zaku 2, I'll probably in revision 2 try it out where I swap it out from either 2/2 Zaku, just because I can leave it there as a deterrent. I might not be able to swing at base, but at least I know that if I can go into the next turn and play Char Zaku 2 and link it, then I can break EX base, swing at base with a 2/2, and then on their turn, they're gonna have to trade. They're most likely going to trade with the Zaku 2s, which is going to be fine because I'll get something back. Or they'll trade with the 2/2. If they don't trade with the 2/2, that's still fine because I can still start chipping away at base. It's a very weird situation. I'll probably just try it out where, I cut them out for the 2/2s, see what happens from there, and I'll see what happens because it's definitely a metagame call. I want to also try to fit 3 goofs in the deck, but space is incredibly tight. Like I said, it's pretty much like I had to cut down everything. I'm not even playing 4 armors, I'm playing 3, and that's how tight it is. So it's one of those things where this is going to take a lot of like fine-tuning in terms of like, do I still play the 5 bases? If I go down to 4 bases, just play the 1 Corsaria, is that enough to let me see at least once, like the 1 per game? Because right now I haven't drawn it more than once per game, which is great because the second effect kind of sucks. But again, that's just like things for me to consider going into the next revision from here. But overall, I was very happy with this. I felt a lot stronger on my plays. I felt a lot stronger on my curve. Generally, just to talk about some matchups before I wrap up, generally, to be honest, it doesn't matter what they play. Because even if they're playing the Kashtira build, the Cyber New type build, I can go ahead and just field better units than they can. And then up until turn 5, right, and the turn 5 is their big Kashtira play turn, but then I have Wing Gundam, so now I have a 7/7 that can swing into it. And he is immune to Marita's effect. He will only take 1 from the pairing of the next Kashtira, so then they need to commit more guys to the field, which is more cards out of their hand. As soon as they run out of cards in their hand, then it's when my guys, because they're overstated, start to take the field better. Against Freedom Blockers is I really hate to say this, but it's a very easy matchup for me because of how fast the deck is, because of what numbers I hit. Right, they will need to get an incredibly strong curve, but I know that on turn 5 they don't have a good turn 5 play. Wait, it's turn 5? No, it's turn 4. Sorry, turn 4. Turn 4 they don't have a strong play. Turn 5 is their Ale Strike turn. So turn 4 they don't really have a good play to do. But I'm fielding 2 units, so then on their Ale Strike turn they got to deal with, even if they clear one of my units, they still have to deal with the other one. So it kind of puts them in on the back pedal from there. Against Green White, I played a lot of over the weekend. That was the one matchup I didn't get to face on Friday that well, aside from the one game. But I purposely asked a friend to just run back 10 games with it, and I felt very comfortable in the matchup to a certain extent, because if I can get my turn 3 Char Zaku and 2 on the field, turn 4 double units, it puts a lot of pressure on them. They have to see ramp, they have to hit the right cards, they have to get the right pilots on curve in order to deal with the field, which is fine. If they got it, they got it. But it puts a scenario where a few things have to hit right with them, whereas for me, I just have to draw units. So my threshold for what can go wrong is quite low, since the only thing that could really dead draw this deck is if I whiff on Zaku 2, if I end up drawing all my pilots, stuff like that. But even then, it's still, because I still have a low to the ground curve, I could still start fielding units as turn 4. If I miss turn 1 or turn 2, not a big deal, to be honest, because they're just playing Zwart, they can't break base anyway, and Lifrith can't break base, so I got a little bit of turns on them. Death Scythe is a little bit annoying, in my opinion, to deal with, but after that, I have a bad habit of ignoring him because he doesn't do anything. Right? He's overstated, he is, but he doesn't have First Strike anymore, so he kind of just sits around, so I can kind of just not care. He doesn't have Breach either. Shenlong I care about because it has Breach and it's a problem, but it's also Shenlong becomes 6/5, which is easy for me to clear with a link with Char. So there's a lot of stuff in the deck that I'm not worried about. It's really the Wing Gundams that are my biggest problem, I ended up using it just to try to be the one that kind of helps against that issue. But yeah, that's it for the revision 1 of the deck. I'll be doing some tinkering with a little bit more ratios. Like I said, certain cards are now on my watch list to swap out and try out different things, but I'm definitely excited to see where it goes. I'm definitely getting more comfortable playing the deck as well, in terms of what lines to take, when to keep swinging it face versus clear field. Well, to be honest, 80% of the time is just swing face and let them deal with your guys. But no, I still like the deck. The deck's great. And it's a very, for anyone who's trying to play the game, it's a very quote-unquote cheap deck to play. Aside from Char's Gelgu, which may cost, I think, 15, 20. If you can secure one of the starter decks, that's enough to get you the Amros and 2 of the Gundams, so you just need 1 more. The Char's Zaku 2 should be pretty cheap as well, and then everything else is just, as you see, commons, rares, and cards that are cheap. Well, alright, fine. Wing Zero, right? Wing Gundam, rather. So the starter decks is kind of if you have access to at least 1, you don't have to play my exact ratios. you can cut down as much as you can based on what's available to you. But I think it's still worth giving it a shot just to learn how to play against a specific aggro deck and against this meta that we're seeing. The very things pop off around turn 5, turn 6. This deck, from what I've noticed, kills in turn 6. If things go right, you can end the round in 10 minutes and enjoy the rest of the 20 minutes in the rounds to kind of goof off or watch other games. But enough of me rambling. That's it for this deck. If anything, I will catch everyone in the next one. I got some gameplay videos that I've asked a local player to help me record for the green-white matchup, so that's going to be coming up soon. Yeah, and again, very happy with this one. I will definitely keep tinkering it, and I'll see you for revision 2.